Hi, I am Alvin Holas, and this is Talk with Business. We are so happy to be back with you, and today we are talking about the Chevening Scholarships. Chevening is the UK government's international awards program aimed at developing global leaders. This program is funded by the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office and partner organizations. As a Chevening scholar myself, this program provides a unique opportunity for future leaders, influencers, and decision makers from all over the world to develop professionally and academically, network extensively, experience UK culture, and build lasting positive relationships beyond academics. Most importantly, it encourages the transfer of knowledge from the UK to the scholar's country of origin. For the past 38 years, Chevening has birthed over 50,000 professionals, and their stories are always exciting to listen to as they take what they have learned and impact change in their societies. Today, we have a few Caribbean scholars who will tell their stories and give top tips on the application and interview process. And I will invite them to introduce themselves to you at this point.
Hi, my name is Dania Howell. I'm a 2020 Chevening Scholar from Barbados. I would have recently completed my studies in Coastal and Marine Resources Management from the University of Portsmouth. Post-completion, I'm looking forward to aiding the development and the sustainability of the blue economy in Barbados. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Franz George from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I am studying a Masters of Science in Industrial Organizational Business Psychology at the University College London. My aspirations is to just use my degree, my skills, my network to go back to St. Vincent, of course, and the Caribbean to see how I could support businesses, support organizations to grow, become more impactful, and thus drive the economy and development.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lariston Choi, and interestingly, it's the face that you will see a lot on Chevening website, so you'll always see me. I am from Guyana, and I am pursuing a Master of Arts in Children, Youth, and International Development at Brunel. Currently, I am employed within the Ministry of Human Services as a Child Protection Officer. So post-Masters, I'm going to be returning to Guyana, where I'm hoping to work assiduously in policy relating to children, youth, and international development, hoping to ensure that children and young people voices are heard. Thank you.
Awesome hearing from all of you, and welcome to Talk with Business. I hope everybody is doing well and is ready to share your knowledge with our prospective scholars, right? So I will get on right into the questions, and I will ask that each of you would take on this one. What inspired you to apply for the Chevening Scholarship? And I will begin with Daniel.
Thanks, Alvin. So basically, I was inspired to apply for Chevening because I knew within myself that there was an impact that I had to make, especially in the area of the blue economy. Well, just to give you a bit of background, the blue economy is still a relatively new and developing sector. And given that Barbados and Caribbean is surrounded by so much ocean space, I knew that we had to use it to the best of our potential. Given we were so reliant on tourism and we were so reliant on imports and other things, I knew that we had a chance to take something that was in our own backyard and use it to our advantage, also while being sustainable. So I knew that this was a sector for me after having worked in disaster management for a number of years and also working closely with the blue economy. This propelled me to get fully into it. And I said, I have to apply for Chevening. I know I want to make an impact. I know that I have it within me to make this impact. So put my best foot forward, and I was successful, and I applied for Chevening. I received it, and I'm back here home, and I'm ready to do all the groundwork possible to make that impact for Barbados and continue on its development.
Wow, amazing, Daniel. And Larston, what would you say was your source of inspiration in applying for the Chevening Scholarship?
First, I'm just going to be honest and throw it out of the bat. I honestly cannot afford to pay for a master's at a level. So first and foremost, Chevening provides you with the opportunity with a fully paid scholarship, and at the same time, just immersing oneself in the UK culture. Other than finances, my other inspiration was the fact of networking. I'm a strong believer that with strong networking, you are able to do things in a larger scale, even with just a small idea. And so Chevening provided that opportunity where the networking is large. Do know that some of the politicians, presidents, and ministers throughout the world would have been an alum of Chevening. And so being a part of the creme of the world was definitely something that I wanted to be a part of.
I'm a Vinci brother, friends.
For me, really and truly, it was just the network. As much as I know I wanted to do a master's, and as much as like Lariston, I said to myself, boy, affording a master's on my own would have been a bit of a task to take on. When I thought about the different scholarship opportunities, I specifically chose Chevening because of how expansive the network was. Because there were other options. There could have been Fulbright, there could have been Commonwealth, and so on. But to me, Chevening's network extended right across the world, and it has been extended, over the past how many years that this scholarship has been in existence, and it will continue to do so for the years to come. And I said to myself, being a part of such an expansive network, just as we say in St. Vincent, if you scratch my back, I will scratch yours. It means I have a lot of people who could scratch my back. So anytime I may need to do a project in St. Vincent and the Grenadines or in the Caribbean, and I would need persons with particular expertise, or persons with a particular skill set and knowledge, or even persons with a set of resources that I may not have, I know I have so many people who I could reach out to. And even though, you can't possibly network with everyone, the beauty about Chevening is you don't have to. You don't have to know everyone personally. You don't have to have had a conversation with someone. By virtue of just being a Chevening scholar, it means that once you can identify who that person is, who may have a skill set, resource, or whatever you may need, it's as simple as sending an email or a LinkedIn message. And that's what I loved about it. So for me, it really was a network, full stop.
Awesome. And for me, being a Chevener myself, I will just say, I really appreciated the element of networking that Chevening gave, as well as the financial element, as Lariston rightfully highlighted. And I believe all of us can attest to this one. I mean, studying in the UK, they have some of the best universities in the world, also some of the most costly, right? If we were to work out the cost of the degrees and compare it to other parts of the world. And so I believe that financial element is quite important to many of us, and also to Caribbean people who are considering studying in the UK, as well as the overall cultural experience that we would have had being in the UK and being able to travel around the different parts, because there is a lot more to the UK than just London.
Very true.
Sometimes, often as Caribbean people, we say we go into England is within the London vicinity we are, right? And there's so much more to the UK. And so all of those elements would have been what made up the overall experience and given us that source of inspiration to apply for the scholarship. Now, I will shoot this one at Lariston. What are some of the requirements that one needs to apply for a Chevening scholarship?
All right. So first and foremost, I think the most important one is you must have an undergraduate. The beautiful thing about Chevening is that you can have an undergraduate in whatever field. It's not like certain scholarships where you have to have certain degrees. Chevening, once you have an undergraduate, also, let me put it out here, many people are, scared when they finish uni and their GPA is not that high. The other requirement is you just need to get accepted into a UK university. So you could get a GPA of 2.5 or 2.7. Once that university that you aspire to go to accepts you, you have cleared one hurdle. The third one would be your work. You must ensure that you have at least 2 years of work experience. Here comes the other beautiful thing. Yes, some of us may just hop out of uni and we don't have work experience. 2 years of volunteering experience counts. So you have the opportunity, even if throughout your 4 years at uni, you've been volunteering, you've been active in community development, just doing work, that also takes into account as 2 years. And so basically that is it. And of course, must be part of a country that is within the Commonwealth that the UK recognizes. So I think that's about it. If I'm forgetting any other pertinent requirement, my fellow scholars would share.
Excellent, Lauriston. And Franz and Daniel, you wanted to add anything to that?
I think that he quite covered the requirements, and it's basically a smooth sailing from there. You just fill out the application. You write those essays. You need to have a plan for those essays. It's not a last minute thing. I know that all of you probably will get into those essays, but you really have to plan and prepare, and you need to have the mindset that you want it.
Well, yeah. Daniel, Franz, you wanted to add something there?
Yes, I would just add one thing which I think is very critical. You must be prepared to return to your home country for at least 2 years to contribute to your country's development. And the reason why I say this is because the whole aim of the scholarship is to equip you to make an impact in your country. So, apart from having the undergraduate degree, apart from having the 2 years experience and so on, I think being prepared to return to your country is a critical factor to consider, because some persons really and truly, when getting a master's, they just want to leave and go away and stay probably where they would have studied or seek employment elsewhere. That is not Chevening. So it is important, I think, considering this scholarship, that you think about coming back. Are you prepared to go back to your country? If yes, definitely apply. If no, you may want to consider other options.
So Franz, in other words, you are saying, if you don't intend to return home after studies, do not apply for Chevening.
Full stop. Not full stop. Not full stop. Exclamation mark.
Exclamation mark. All right, great. I love to hear it. You're being straightforward, stating the facts, and really and truly, that is the sole purpose of the scholarship, to equip us to go back to build our nations. And if that is not your intention, then a Chevening scholarship may not be the scholarship for you. There are many others out there, so maybe you can pursue another scholarship. But Daniel, don't think I forget you. You tried jumping the gun earlier, right? You tried jumping the gun and going into essays. So I come into you now with this question. What was the application process like for you?
Oh my God.
And in telling me about this application process and what it was like, I want you to go a little more in depth and tell me about the essays and how you went about tackling those essays and so on.
Just a second to add to France, I'm back in Barbados. I'm back in my home country. As I said. But essays and the application process. Well, I'll say that first, I did not apply for Chevening once. I did not get it on the first try. And as I ended and say, you have to want it. When I first applied for Chevening, it was like, this scholarship, let me, apply for this. So I did apply, and I applied maybe, applications are due in November, usually around November every year. And I think I started my essay in October, the end of October. So it was like a willy-nilly thing. And unfortunately, I did not get Chevening. And I mean, well deserved. The second time around, I did know what I wanted, and I prepared an entire year in advance. So I used that year to build myself, build my essays. So going into the application, as soon as the applications opened, I think maybe August, I started to plan my essays even before, because I would have known what it was like, what the structure was like, and I would get into that. But I started to fill out the application form. I started to input the answer stuff like, personal things, not too personal. Then they go into school, and as the resident said, work experience, etc. And then came the big guns, 4 essays. Well, I thought 4 500-word essays was a lot until I did my master's at that time. But the first essay asked about leadership. So I would have written and I would have, made bullet points of all the leadership opportunities that I had over the years. And as small as you may think it is, and as small as I thought, I still put it down. So things like, I mentioned things from secondary school. I mentioned things from when I did my bachelor's. I mentioned small things at work, small opportunities at work. I mentioned other things through my clubs and my groups and my organizations. I put all of those in bullet points, and then I made them into a sequence. And this is how I developed. I took something from each leadership opportunity and molded myself and all the lessons, the good and the bad. And now I am here and I'm ready to put that into Chevening. So that's how I would have structured my first essay. So the first essay got over that barrier, then it was the second. I think the second essay was networking. Again, examples of all the networking, whether small, large, and again, I put that into sequence as well. Networking within secondary school, how did I take that into university? When I did my bachelor's, networking at work, networking with my organization. If you did beach cleanups and you spoke to this person and you still have that relationship, whether big or small, you say how you network. And I want to remind people that networking is not one way. It's a mutual exchange. Mm-hmm. And I would have instilled that into my application as well. So 2 essays down, 2 more to go, halfway through. My third essay, I think that was why the UK and why my school. Now, I went to University of Portsmouth, as I said, and the University of Portsmouth is located actually in the southeast of England and is located on the coast. So I wanted to study coastal and marine resources management. So I was like, well, this is the perfect opportunity. And I would have, explored all of the options and looked at the course content, etc. And this was the course for me. Also, the Portsmouth itself was a quite small city, but it has a lot of flavor in it. So that would have attracted me as well. And overall, why the UK? Cultural melting pot. So the UK, I visited before on holiday. I knew what it was like. I was familiar with the seasons, etc. So I knew that it had a lot of opportunity and I could see myself fit into the UK. Also, the benefits of the UK, the master's was much shorter than the US. As I said, the culture, places to see, visit. So that's mainly why I chose the UK and the University of Portsmouth. So 3 essays down, still 1 more to go. I'm exhausted at this point, but it is something that I want. So my final essay was career path. So in my final essay, I would have done the short-term, mid-term, and long-term career plans. Short-term, first thing you have to put down, you want to return to your home country. You cannot leave that out. That is point blank. That's it. So short-term, return back to Barbados. And then whatever happens from there, but I'm not staying in the UK. I made a pledge to come back and develop my country. So that's the first thing I want to do. So I would have added that in my career, returning back to my country, and I would have listed, what I would like to achieve at least in the first year. Then I went into 3 to 5 years, what I would like to see myself, and then, beyond that. And I would not tell people, don't be shy to put personal things in career plans as well, because at the end of the day, all work, no play, it is about life balance. So even if you put something that you would like to start a club, or you would like to, probably start a family in this time, but I mean, it's all about balance, and it's the reality of things. Yes, you want to develop to your country, but it's a reality that you may have other personal goals. Achievement is very relatable, because as the rest would have mentioned, you don't need to have a high academics. Achievement is about being all around. So they expect, if you're all around in this present life and before, and things you've done, you're expected to be all around, in the future. So basically, that was my 4 essays. As I said, that I would have planned and prepared. Achievement is not a last minute thing. You cannot do it last minute. Unless you're really good, unless you're really, really good. But it is a lot of mental preparation, and you have to know where you want to see yourself and how you want to contribute to your country.
All right. Thank you for that, Daniel. Fellas, we could end the program now, I think. Okay. So any of you had a different approach to tackling the essays and how you would have approached the laying out of your application process and stuff?
For me, I use a STAR approach. I think that helped me in terms of answering the questions, utilizing every aspect of my life, professionally and socially. As much as I was active here in the UK, and Franz and Daniel, everybody knows how active I was here with Chevening and everything else. It's the same. It was no different back in Guyana. And so I was able to use those facets of my life in answering both the leadership, networking, and more so my career. I use a STAR approach because I was able to show a situation, what I did. And the other thing too is, while Chevening wants to know that you are a team player, Chevening wants to know about you. So in your essays, you have to be selfish. I'm very sorry to say, but I'll say it blankly. You need to be selfish. You need to put yourself first. All right. This is what I did. This is how I worked. I worked with this person. I worked with that person. I did this. Because at the end of the day, Chevening is for potential leaders, people that are going to run organizations, run countries. That's who they're building. That is who they're funding. So you have to first and foremost put that out. And so I was able to say that, given my job, I was able to network with this person to get this done for my office, to help clients in this way. I network with that person. And when it came down to my studies, the other thing I will say is, like Daniel is saying, when you prepare in advance for Chevening, it helps you to give quality to your essays. Because when it comes down to that writing of why you want to study in the UK, as much as it sounds easy, it's very difficult because it's 500 words. And you have to convince them that the program that you have chosen is the program that really is going to amplify your profession. All right. So you have to start looking at your universities and the programs that you want in advance and pinpoint unique things about each university. For example, I would have gotten into Birkbeck as well as Brunel for the Masters in Children, Youth and International Development. Same title. However, Brunel provided an application aspect of it, a placement. So for 6 months, I was able, thank God, I was able to get a placement at Commonwealth. Now, Birkbeck did not offer that. So it was more of theory for Birkbeck than application. And I said, I'm here in the UK, international experience would boost my CV. Again, thinking of my long-term goal working with UNICEF. And so Brunel, for me, was my first choice. So had I not gone through their program, I would not have been able to make a strong defense for my first choice.
Just to add to Lariston quickly is that I also got to Birkbeck. I'm not saying Birkbeck is not a really good school, but it's where you see yourself as well. So although Birkbeck did have my program and Portsmouth had my program as well, it's basically feeling you get inside as well when you're going through the school facilities, the grounds, and I mean I'm an extrovert, yes, but I didn't really want to be in London either. I wanted to visit London. I wanted to go to, take a visit, but I didn't want to live in London. So it's also where you see yourself, and there's a feeling within as well. You have to look at the campus. You have to look at accommodation. You have to think totally long term, even when you're preparing for school. As I said, University of Portsmouth situated on the coastline. And that was what I was doing. So I said, this is the perfect opportunity. But during the application process and when you're doing looking for schools, you really have to look at location, you have to look at all these things. If you want to apply for Scotland, Scotland's really cold. It's colder than over in England. So if you know that you can tolerate that weather, then you apply. If you can't, be tolerate that, then you stick to try the warmer side. The south is warmer than London and stuff usually sometimes. So even those things you take into context where you see yourself fitting in and feeling within.
Let me just add something very quickly. And I want to highlight it. It's where Lauriston said planning in advance. Now I know Lauriston probably meant, the application opens in end of August, early September, start then. But for me, I'll take it even beyond that. Because let me share a personal story really quick. I decided that I was going to apply for Chevening from as far back as 2015. Right? And deciding from then allowed me to take time to identify what my country's needs were. It allowed me to know what skill sets I have and what I needed to get. So I would be very intentional in my school choice and program choice. And it also allowed me to know who I am and what I bring to the table so that I could articulate those things pretty well in the essays. And it also gave me time to accumulate the good profile that was outstanding, that would have allowed me to be someone who would be a great candidate. So, for those who would be looking at this, at the recording of this video, if you are not necessarily interested in applying right away, that's totally fine. Put a plan in motion, plan years ahead, and you might be surprised how that may be extremely useful later down in the road.
Yeah.
Franz, thank you very much for that point. I think it's very important because you cannot. I don't think when considering a scholarship or your next plan of action for pursuing higher education, I don't think you can put a set timeline on it, and you cannot overplan it, for lack of better words.
Exactly.
So that's a very, very, very valid point. And I will stick with you for a bit now, Franz, because we would have covered the application process. We went through the essays and we spoke about what made you guys choose the university you chose over others. And I want to delve into a little bit about the interview now, the interview section, because that is a part that many scholars find very challenging or intimidating, if I should say, and it has them on edge. So, Franz, tell me, how did you go about preparing for that interview segment after being shortlisted and forwarded to that next element of the Chevening application process? Okay.
For me, preparation for the interview started even before I got shortlisted. It started in writing the essays. The reason being, your essays are going to be a sort of CV or a sort of profile that you are presenting to the interview panel. And how you portray yourself and what you choose to portray is what they're going to have as, a sort of perception of you going into that interview. And they may even frame their questioning. For example, I was asked certain things based on my experiences that I outlined in the essays and so forth. So you have to, write very intentionally when preparing those 4 essays. But after I was shortlisted, the first thing I did was to network with past Chevening scholars. I networked and I said to them, hey, I got through the scholarship. I have an interview coming up. Can you please share with me what your interview experiences were? And I reached out to persons from different countries, different years, so I could sort of get like a rounded idea of what the interviews would be like. And from that, I then tried to pick their brain in terms of what were some of the questions. And that was actually very useful because, might I tell you, some of the exact same questions that they were asked, I was asked also, right? The next thing to do was just basically, have a sort of self-talk. Like, okay, friends, based on your essays, what else could you share? Or based on your essays, how can you elaborate what you might have pointed out in the essays? How could you add more flesh to it and so forth? And then I also said to myself, okay, friends, what are your weaknesses when it comes to interviews? I know sometimes I love to prattle, I love to talk, I get carried away. So I knew that I needed to make things very succinct and get to the point. And after doing that, I actually did mock interviews, where once more I asked past Chevening scholars to run me through interviews and to give me feedback. And I did maybe about 3 or 4 of these, just to ensure that I got enough feedback to know if I was consistent in certain things, or if everyone saw the same issues, or that sort of thing. And once I got that feedback, I then made a concerted effort to try to improve on those areas. And then when I went into the interview, the one thing I just had to do was be myself. There's no need to impress the panel. In fact, if you try to impress them, it may work against you, right? What they want is for you to come there, be yourself, be honest, and be open. And I think that once you can connect with them and have a conversation instead of an interview, that may work in your benefit. Because when I was engaging them, I made reference to my essays, I made reference to other things. When they asked certain things, I just kept it flowing. And then when it was a point where they asked me if I had a question, I actually asked them too. And the conversation was flowing so well that they realized that the interview was going overtime. And they were like, oh, wait, hold on, we have an interview next. We're really enjoying this chat, but we have to move on. So it's just really about making the vibe very natural. Don't think of them as these people who are there to judge you. Don't think of them as the people who has your future in the balance. I mean, they kind of do, because they would determine if you get a scholarship or not. But don't focus on that. Just focus on engaging and telling your story. And I think that's the most important thing.
Thank you for that, Franz. And to those of you listening, right, take all Franz's advice, but don't go and talk about the people ears like Franz. Franz is a man that's talking. Right? But moving on to Lauriston, you had anything that you wanted to add to that with regards to tips on interviews?
Well, the thing is, like Danielle, this would have been my second attempt. I would have gotten to the shortlisting in 2019. And because I did the opposite to Franz, I didn't talk much. I was very brief. I didn't get Chevening. I was rejected. When I asked for my feedback, because you can do that, you don't always get a feedback because of the number of persons who apply, but sometimes you're lucky enough to get the feedback. So I was one of those that was lucky enough to get a feedback on my interview. And what was said about mine is that I was too brief. There was substance, there was surface, but they wanted to know more. I didn't provide enough, like the other candidates did when it came down to those questions. And so my round two, when I went back to the drawing board, was to prattle. I am very sorry. I was like, listen, I am here to tell you all that I need this scholarship, and I went and I did the business. I talked. The talking, however, it's important. Even though you're talking, it should be things that are going to be of value to putting yourself out there, making sure that you are presenting the candidate that they are looking for. It's not just about talking. It's not just about randomly picking things. But if you have, because sometimes we may share one experience, and that one experience may not solidify what you wanted to say. You can find a second example to give them. You can find a third example. Just don't go on and on and on. But you can find other ways of, getting through to them if you feel as if what you said has not been solidified. If you do have, because I had the face-to-face and I had the virtual, thank God for virtual, because that really made me feel comfortable. But walking in to the High Commission's office, sitting in front of 3 people with a glass of water on your right hand, I mean, the nerves just kick in right there, yeah? But what I will say, my advice is don't get too caught up in all of the questions that you get on social media, on YouTube and stuff like that. Why? It's because you become robotic, because you remember those and you try to remember those questions and how to answer them, and you find that when you're in the interview, you are not, like Fran said, you are not authentic, you are not yourself, and that could work against you. Yeah, so sometimes, persons are not lucky enough to know a fellow Chevener or an alum within the community, but you can also ask a friend that is really true to you, they're going to tell you how you sound. You can also use that person. And like I said, the trick of it, if you do have your face-to-face and you have that glass of water, you ensure you drink that water, because that is a way in which you can think. Right? Because sometimes not all of us can hit it off the bat like this. We need time to think. That's where the water comes in.
Daniel, I see you shaking your head in agreement. You want to weigh in a bit?
No, honestly, that was a great tip. I wish that I thought of that and I knew that tip when I did my interview. But I wanted to add to Choi's point when he said, some persons may not be fortunate enough to know some person in the Chevening community when they're doing their interview. But I want to say, if you don't know anyone, that's an opportunity to network from then, even before Chevening. Chevening is an expansive network. And there's so many Chevening groups on Facebook. People have all of their Chevening stuff in LinkedIn. Reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out to any one of us. And I'm speaking for us because I know you all would not have a problem with that. But, reach out to us, ask a question. And you never know, you can even put that in your essay interview. I reached out to somebody in Barbados. I'm from, Pakistan, but I reached out to someone in Barbados. I'm from Guyana, but I reached out to some person in Jamaica. But it shows that you want it and you've already started to build your network. And you've already started to do networking. And one of the points I have made inside my interview is that I wanted to be a scholar, so started to act like a scholar. I started to do my networking. I started to do my leadership. I started to behave, because once you behave like something, you become that person.
Wow,
Nice.
Daniel,
that's powerful. That is powerful.
That is a powerful punch. And yeah, that's a takeaway point as well. as it relates to the interview segment. You want to become a leader, you start acting the part of being a leader. And like Lauriston and Franz highlighted, be authentically you, right? Do not show up to the interview and try to mimic those videos that you looked at on YouTube. Not even this recording that you're going to look at in preparation. You know, take the points, but be you, right? And deliver you to the panel, right? So having discussed all that, I bet the waiting time for a response must have had you guys on edge. Tell us about that. Tell us about that nerve-wracking period of waiting.
Generally, I would say to everyone who's going to be watching the video, Chevening is not for the faint of heart. If you are someone who suffers from high level of anxiety, Chevening, oh boy. Waiting for me, the first time it was a difference because I went it twice, like right after. So the first time, oh my goodness, I was clinging to my emails. I refreshed my emails as soon as June reached.
June 1st.
Because you know June is the release. I was refreshing my phone. Yahoo was like 1, 2, 3. That was one. Then it got worse because apparently they do it by regions. I'm not too sure, but you see people in Pakistan and all these other countries starting to put up on the social media, oh, it's raining emails in this country and that country, and then you're always just waiting. The thing is, every country is going to get it at different points. Not sure why, but that is how it is. And just relax. Yeah. Your application is what gets you to the interview, and your interview is what gives you Chevening. All right. And so just have a mindset and be positive throughout. You started off with that aim of I'm going to get it, and you maintain that. All right. Because you do know, let me just say this, do know rejection is never, ever about a failure. It's always a setback for a bigger comeback. All right. And there are people who would have run after Chevening for 7 years, 10 years, and finally got it. All right. I pray that you are not one, but even if you don't get it on your first try, don't close the door. Don't close the door. I didn't. I went back immediately after. Yes, traumatic. But, you know, I said, like Daniel is saying, you know, the question is how bad you want it. That's the question that you have to answer. How bad do I want it? All right.
And Lauriston, to add to that point too, I tell a lot of people who have applied and was unsuccessful. I say to them, yo, you should be proud of yourself. The fact that you applied in the first place is a big achievement, you know.
Yeah.
Because the application process itself is a rigorous one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just going and fill out a form where you're ticking yes, no, not applicable, and you move on to the next page. You really had to sit and do some in-depth thinking within yourself, research on what the needs of your country are, how your career can help build your nation and the CARICOM region by extension. So it takes a lot out of an individual just to do the application, you know? So again, those of you who would have applied in the past and was unsuccessful, or those of you considering applying in the event that you are unsuccessful, do not give up. If it is something that you really want, you got to just keep working for it and hold the faith, hoping that you will get through one day, right? And Lauriston mentioned that some people apply for years before getting through. And I remember hearing this story from a gentleman who applied, I think, 5 times, right? Someone I met this year while I was studying, and he was telling me how he applied 5 times, and he actually was not going to apply this 6th time around because he said to himself that is not for him, and he's done with it. and it's family members and friends that encourage him to apply again, because he really wanted to do a master's, but he couldn't afford. He couldn't afford it. And he listened to his mom and he applied. And behold, the sixth time around, when he wanted to give up, right, is when his breakthrough came. And he was able to pursue his degree this year in a pandemic. So, I mean, it is when you hear some people's stories, it's really, really touching. And it is more encouragement for you to really do some self-introspection and tell yourself, hey, I got this, I can do this, and you just get it done. So yeah, you tell us a little bit about the nerves and the anxiety that was stirred up waiting for the results. And now I want you to tell me now, you got the acceptance, you get that email saying, congratulations, you have been chosen for Chevening, right? So what next, right? In terms of preparation for the big move to the UK, tell me how you went about with that preparation journey. France?
Well, it was in the middle of a pandemic that I got the results. So the first thing on my mind was, okay, how am I going to navigate the journey from my home country to the UK in a pandemic and settle in school and get things sorted out. So I sort of went into a preparation mode, right? But have no fear, you're not going to be doing this alone. You're going to have Chevening holding your hand right through the process, and you're going to also have the other persons who have been successful going through the same process as well. So from there, it was an opportunity for me to start, reaching out to persons. And I mean, that's when I met some of you guys for the first time virtually and so on. And I remember even, for example, when booking tickets, I was there the night before talking to them, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? Which seat are we going to take? Window or aisle? And all that kind of stuff. So the thing is definitely start having a think about what you're going to need to do to get to the UK. And of course, Chevening is going to outline a lot of things that you would need to do and the processes. So just make sure you acquaint yourself with all those things and ensure you just follow this step. If you're not clear on anything, reach out, ask for verification. Let them know that you are a bit confused or even that you're a bit overwhelmed. Because it can be trying to do everything all at once. And for me, it was also about acquainting myself with the school. Now, even though I would have researched the school and researched the program, it's not until when you get through with the scholarship you can definitely say, okay, yeah, I'm going to this school. What is it going to be like now in terms of the orientation week? What is it going to be like in terms of the coursework, and how could I start to prepare myself for that beforehand? Because last minute and procrastination is your enemy. So, just have a think about those things and just have fun. As tedious as it might be, as stressful as it might be, just focus on the end goal, which is being a part of an amazing program, meeting amazing people, getting the opportunity to experience a culture and travel throughout a new country, discover new things, and of course, making yourself a better, more equipped, more knowledgeable person to come back and make an impact. Focus on that, and I think that once you start to think about that, the tediousness of the preparations would seem minimal.
Wow. Thank you for that, Franz. Daniel, I see like you want to add something to what Franz said.
I was going to say that. Franz said that's so cool. He said that as soon as he got his results, he went into preparation mode. That was not me. I was like... So for me, I went into celebration mode. I can see the same for you, Troy. But I mean, I was elated that I received this prestigious scholarship. So first thing was definitely not preparation mode. It was celebration. You've accomplished something so big. And the thing is, I think at first when you first got that email, because all of us knew how the email started. All of us already knew what to see when your email pops up. The first few lines, either it's pardon?
We are delighted.
Delighted. Everybody knows those 3 words. We are delighted. You know, from there, you have. So when as the Troy said, you know, for June 1st, it was refreshing. Then it was actually that one day, and it was, as he said, I think it was goes by region or something. I think Trinidad got it before Barbados or the EC or something. And I remember I couldn't sleep. And then you're waking up at ridiculous hours in the morning. Well, I was waking because, you know, they're 5 hours ahead. So I was waking up at 5 a.m. and like it was 10 o'clock in UK. It's 10 o'clock. They must have emails out and it was refreshing. And the one day I was not looking for it. Very delighted to inform. So I mean, it's reason to celebrate. You've overcome the application, the year-long planning, the application, interview. So I went straight into celebratory mode. And then maybe a few days after, it was like, okay, change the focus. It's a pandemic. But as definitely as Fran said, you try to try to figure out who else got the scholarship, like your country or your region, and you start to make connects. I think I reached out to Alvina. I was like, hi. And you know, you started to build then your network for your cohort for that year. Honestly, after receiving it is amazing. I think you try to keep it in a little bit because you want them to release the information first. It's very hard. It's very, very hard. But those first 2 weeks, you're just so elated that you achieved this scholarship. And just, you know, you're networking with everybody. I remember after receiving it, I'm reaching out to Alvin, and he said, you know, I'm in Barbados. And, oh, you are? Well, you know, let's hang out. It was like networking from there. But no, honestly, it's so amazing. It's so amazing. The friends that you meet, and you know that they're able to go along the journey. And Alvin and friends we were able to go on the same flight, and we were able to have. I believe Alvin speak on it, but we were able to have some adventures together in the UK. So it really is not about networking, a scholarship, but also building those lasting friendships.
Yeah. True. Daniel, you ain't tell them when you had me waking up 4:30 in the morning to go and clean beaches up in Barbados.
Yeah, I was still doing my beach cleanups. Again, I was in CYEN. I am in CYEN, Caribbean Youth Environmental Network. Join it. But I am in CYEN, and leading up, I didn't, relieve any of my duties. I mean, I'm a leader, and that's something I'm passionate about. Coastal and marine. And I did have some beach cleanups, and I said, oh, Alviva, I have a beach cleanup in your area. This is the beach you frequent, all partying, no, let's get cleaning. So that was something I invited Alvin to, and he came out. And again, that's really how, Chevening Network goes, the friendships, the bonds. And it's also, Alvin is doing something completely different, but he was able to, make input. As well as this is his show, and he was able to call on us. We are persons that he met through Chevening and friendships, and he was able to call on us to deliver this event. So, Chevening, it goes quite a long way.
Definitely so, definitely. And now, Larston, to you. So we've spoken a lot about networking over the past year and meeting people from different walks of life, whether Cheveners or non-Cheveners. But how did you go about initiating those networking process?
All right. If I could have moved, but if I could move, you can't see it that much. Chevening would have labeled me a people person. I think, like Daniel, I'm an extrovert. I'm a very social individual. And so it's not difficult for me to reach out. Even though we were in a pandemic and we were meeting people, because 90% of Chevening activities, unfortunately, was virtual. I took those break room sessions, those breakout sessions that we had, to really get to know some people and then person would have shared their social media contacts, and so we continue talking there. But also, it's the little link up. Yeah. And it was so beautiful in this cohort that even though we were not able to really link up in the first half of the year, that people made the effort, like reach out to create small things. And being a part of those is how I was able to reach other people. Sadly, I was in Portsmouth, but I didn't get to meet Danielle. France and I met actually by just a random, oh, hi, the Caribbean people want to link up. Can you join?
I understand you came to Scotland and I didn't meet you either.
I haven't gone to Scotland, no, but that's on my list. I was supposed to come because the Guyanese Chevening was in Scotland, Stacey. But yeah, so that is how I was able to do it. So the other thing is you have to be a people's person. You got to put away the shyness, even if that's you. You can say, yes, I'm gonna come, you go. Even if you can observe for about a minute and two, and then you join in. Because what you will find is that your journey is going to be enriched by the people that you meet. Not by the activities generally, but by the people. I mean, it's strange, and I've shared this with other Cheveners. It's strange, but it's like the like-mindedness of the cohort just allows you to freely share and to freely interact without prejudice, without anything behind it. Like you just want to share, you want to see, okay, so what you're doing in your country, because at the end of the day, like Fan said, when we get back home and we have projects and we have things to do, these are the people that we meet, these are the people that we created these long-lasting friendships that very well may be the resource person for many of the impacts that we want to make within the Caribbean, within South America, within CARICOM, wherever we are, right? And so that is how I was able to, just dive in and to enjoy and to meet people. And it worked well for me.
Thank you very much for that insight there, Lauriston. And Daniel and Franz, and Lauriston, all of us, I guess, we can all safely say we are now experienced event planners as well.
Yes.
Because I mean, we've all visited different cities across the UK throughout our time studying here. To whether it's to meet up with other Chevening scholars, to meet up with our local country cohorts, or to visit family and friends, and planning all these activities took enough time, working out logistics and accommodation bookings, airline, trains. We are certified event planners in our own right, right? Having gone through the past year.
Very true.
Even reading maps.
And
or schedules. And I think for me, it's just experiencing things the first time with new people as well. I mean, that already builds relationships. Experiencing things with new people that are of the same like-mindedness as you. It was truly amazing. I'm not ashamed to say maybe a day ago yesterday, it was today, I messaged Franz and Alvin and Simone, and we've created quite a bond. And I've said, I really miss you guys. And they would have shared some photos of the trip that we went on. And, you really start to, it created that bond. And we experienced some things for the first time together, boat trips. Even deciding, should we take the speedboat or the slow boat? But just really experiencing things for the first time, and food and the culture in the UK is so rich. So there's so many things to do. Experiencing my first football finals, huge football finals with scholars, that was something as well. So, I mean, although we were in a pandemic, we made the year what as best as we could. And I think that's what brought us closer, because we were quite thirsty for outing. So I think
we made do with what we had. It was phenomenal. The experiences was phenomenal. And speaking of all of that, we even discussed things that we experienced here, and we were like, yeah, this probably would work in the Caribbean. Oh, this probably would not work in the Caribbean. So it actually enhance, because we're here, but we're always thinking about ways in which we can use this experience to make something home better, right? So even when we took the Hoover over to the islands, Daniel and Franz, you know, we were thinking about, hey, how about implementing something similar to this to solve the regional travel crisis that our Caribbean community is faced with, especially given all that is happening, and we seeing the devastating effects that depending only on air travel has on regional travel. So you know, things that we experienced while here constantly had us thinking, hey, how can we use something like this, if not this? Because in a lot of the cases, to solve problems in the region, we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel, you know. There are things that are already in motion that are workable and can be applicable to the Caribbean context, you know. So, I mean, that is also something I always admired about us when we were hanging. Even though we were having fun, we always found a way to say, hey, how can we, yeah, you know. So it was a good vibe. All right, so guys, we were supposed to go for 40 minutes, but we're nearing an hour now. And surprisingly, yeah. So I would just ask at this point to give any closing remarks that you may have for persons listening to this program.
I will go ahead.
With Franz, yeah?
Yeah, I would say take time to introspect. Find out what your country needs. Find out what programs matches those needs, and what programs would also equip you with the right skills for your own personal development and career development. And I think once you can do that and you can, you know, find that sweet spot of finding a program that would serve all those necessary purposes, then I think the next thing you have to do is just to apply for Chevening. If it is that you think that you need time to prepare, no problem. Build your leadership skills, build your CV, get involved in projects, network with people. And I think that, you know, in doing so, you won't go wrong because you'll develop yourself in the process and make yourself a better candidate for Chevening as well.
Danielle.
Yeah, so I'll take the words of my primary school motto, and that's he cans who trains. And that's really that if you want something, you can do it only if you try. Try out. Do not be deterred by anything at all. You would only be successful if you try it. And Chevening is definitely worth it. It's worth it personally, and it's worth it for the development of your country. And I will leave it the statement: if you want to be a leader, you need to start acting like a leader and do the things that you know that a leader should do.
And Lauriston, I didn't even mention earlier that you are one of the faces of Chevening now. So a lot of the marketing tools will have your face as persons can see in the background. If you shift to the side so people can see, I know you're a very humble guy, but we have to let people see, right? So yeah, Lauriston, you definitely became the face of Chevening. Any parting words for us and encouragement as to how other persons can be active when they become Chevening scholars like you?
I will use my mantra first and foremost. I would want to say that Chevening has no age barrier. That's the first thing I want to say. And this is to help those that feel as if they are too old to get, you know, they've been out of school long and they want to get back in. You can. I think in our cohort, there's a 63-year-old African scholar. So there is no age. The other thing is, always remember, if you want to aspire to inspire before you expire, then definitely Chevening is for you. All right, so I'll say that. If you want to aspire to inspire before you expire, then Chevening is definitely for you.
Wow, that is a banging way to end the program. I don't think I need any closing summary after this. So I will say, Danielle, Lauriston, Franz, thank you so much for giving of your time. We appreciate it. We appreciate your input, sharing your experience, and giving pointers on how persons out there can prepare, apply, and get this scholarship from the Caribbean and the rest of the world. To the viewers, thanks again for the generosity of your attention, and we hope to see you again in another session where we talk with business. Thank you.
And thank you very much,
All right.
Levine, for having us.